So I'm here with my dad. He is the pioneer in functional psychiatry, and you have been at this for decades. And I really believe, and I know you believe as well, in how spirituality, faith really impacts the brain and mental health. And you do a lot of QEEGs, which you can talk about, and scans of brains, and you work with patients to improve their brain health. And so I wanted to speak with you today about something that's really near and dear to my heart: faith, spirituality, a belief in God, something greater than us, and how that impacts your brain functioning and mental health. And I know that's near and dear to you, and I wanted to get your perspective in general, and also when you're seeing patients, specifically any patterns that you see with patients who are more spiritual, God-oriented, and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say this. I would say, look, I've been doing this for, I think I'm in my 48th year of doing this. And I've learned tremendous.
That's before I was born. That's a long time.
It is before you're born. It's even before I was born. So, anyway, so the thing that's most astounding to me really is that, I taught cognitive behavioral therapy at Georgetown for more than 10 years. This was the cutting edge therapy when I first learned it and taught it. And we thought this was the big thing. And it's still great. It helps a lot of people. But the problem with that is that it's built on the assumption that we have control. Mm-hmm. And the truth is we don't have control over most things. Mm-hmm. When you think you're supposed to have control and you lose control, you take a big hit in your self-esteem. Mm-hmm. Huge, because without the illusion of control, it's an illusion, mm-hmm. Okay? Without that illusion, you think you're done. Mm-hmm. You're a failure.
Yeah.
And
because you think everything you can make that sale, you can convince that person, you can make that money, you think it's all within your willpower.
It should be. You think it should be. And if it's not, and if you don't succeed, then what did you do wrong? Mm-hmm. And look, maybe you did some things wrong you could improve. I mean, we can all improve. But what I've really learned is, and this, if I could pass one thing on, this would be in the top maybe 3 things that I could pass on. The best medicine is, I call it in Judaism, and I'm sure it exists in every other major faith. Mm-hmm. I call it vitamin B.
Hi, Ruben. Sorry.
Vitamin B.
Yeah. Vitamin
B is for bitachon. Bitachon is trust that this higher power, the intelligence that animates the universe, mm-hmm. That it actually knows what it's doing better than you. And that's kind of the idea, is that you've been set on a path, you have a mission. Each of us has a mission. We may or may not know exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. But you trust that you will be guided properly mm-hmm. down the path. You may make wrong turns, or it seems like wrong turns, but in the end, you're going to end up where you need to be. So when things are stressful, you kind of trust that while it may look really bad, and it may be very difficult and very, very painful, mm-hmm. that ultimately is actually going to be good. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a tough one. I'm not saying this is easy. It's really, really tough. It's a life's work to get there. But I can tell you an example from my personal experience. I can tell you a couple. One where I wasn't so good, where I was in the emergency room with severe pain.
This was like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, right?
Yeah. Severe pain. And I trust, faith, are you kidding? I'm in pain. Give me the morphine.
Yeah.
And there was no room for that, even though I kept verbally asking God for help. Severe pain. So pain is pain, right? Then there's suffering. So, suffering is really actually a function of your attitude. You're afraid. But that 80% of most of our pain is actually suffering, and it's actually something that you don't have to have. Mm-hmm. And then, then there are situations, like I had a more minor situation where I got a letter from the IRS. This was about 2 years ago. They said they were going to freeze all my bank accounts, and then I owed them like a couple $100,000. And like, what is this? I mean, but you know what? I had anxiety for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I said, you know what? This whole thing is coming from God or from this higher power. This has all been written. Yeah. In other words, I'm in a play that was written before I was born, and my job is just to, navigate it. So it's like riding waves in the ocean. Let's say you're a surfer. You're on the wave. Yeah. How are you going to ride the wave? That's the only question. Yeah. You can't control the wave. No. The wave came. You're riding the wave. How are you gonna ride it? That's the only thing. So I had this difficult situation, and I was like, okay, I trust that some way or another this is going to work out, and I'm not going to die from it, and I'll have food on my table, I'll have a roof over my head, and I'll be okay, whatever it is, instead of this catastrophe. And so I only had 5 minutes of stress.
Wow.
And believe me, I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And but I had 5 minutes of stress because I learned enough to trust. Now, I couldn't translate that when I was in the emergency room, and I don't know that I could actually translate it today.
Yeah.
With severe pain, I don't think I could.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an example. It's a work that now, if you get this, then you have the best shock absorber. Then your stress levels in life go down. Now, what's the consequence of that? Oh my God, it's massive.
Can you see it like with your patients?
Yeah.
Those who have a strong foundation in their faith, can you see it actually on their QEEG? Like,
well, you will see everything. You'll see it in all of the biology.
You will.
So their adrenals, which control stress response, immune function, alertness, and healing, tissue healing, etc. Your adrenals will be much better because they won't be going through the constant stresses.
Fight or flight.
Fight or flight every day. Oh my God, I got to get that parking spot. Oh, I'm not going to get a spot. Oh, I got to hurry. What if I'm not there on time? Those little stresses, but they're not little.
Yeah.
You don't have those. You
Yeah.
can't, you're going to be late, then you say, okay, well, I'm not meant to be there at this time.
Yeah.
That's all, I'm just not meant to be there because the universe is working and you're in the flow, I'm in the flow of the universe.
Yeah.
So trust it, relax, chill out. Nobody's going to
Can I share an example?
Yeah.
So, and I didn't really develop strong faith and belief in God until maybe 10 years ago. I mean, I always said I believed in God, but I didn't really understand it. But in 2008, I worked for a great magazine, but I lost my job and I didn't understand the whole magazine lost their job. The whole magazine folded and I didn't understand it at all. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. Complete fear, no faith whatsoever. But looking back, that needed to happen because I was in a print world and I needed to get into the digital space. And within 3 weeks, I had 2 job offers. And the job that I ended up going with has set me on one of my career paths, which is incredible. So I didn't see it in the moment. I thought it was literally the end of the world. And then it completely transformed the course of my life. And looking back, that was God. That was God, the universe, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, there's an intelligence that we don't know. I think sometimes, about giving, let's say you're giving medicine to a 3-year-old. And it doesn't taste good. And they hate it. And they hate you. And how could you do this to me? And then this is horrible. I don't like you, I don't love you, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But the medicine saves their life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they're too small-minded
Yeah.
to appreciate, just like I think we're too small-minded to appreciate what is being done for us all the time. We see it through our small, narrow, very, very, very narrow, including me, very, very narrow lens. And that's the poison. That's the poison.
Yeah.
And if you drink that poison, you will get sick, you will be stressed. Your body will break down, your mind will break down, whatever it is, whatever the vulnerabilities are for you. That's the poison. Yeah.
How old were you when you started developing a strong faith?
It's about 3 months old. Maybe 4. I don't know. No, it was very gradual for me because even though I went to religious school when I was young, the yeshiva, which I loved, if you asked me about God, I'd be like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
Yeah.
The God, okay, yeah, I guess God exists. I don't know, but I like the traditions. I like learning. Then I went to college and med school, and in college I actually was trained to be an atheist, really. I thought, well, who needs to think of God? Because we know it started with this, a Big Bang, and then this, and then we have the whole thing kind of mapped out, right? So who needs to postulate God? Yeah. So I was like, forget that. And then probably when I was about 30, I said, when I was young, I kind of believed. When I was in college, they kind of told me not to believe. I wonder what I believe as an adult. Like, what do I think? So I just started reading and reading. My first question was, do I believe that there is such a thing as God? And I was reading, and I went to the Buddhists, and I went to the, all these different. I just read all kinds, including quantum physics and all this stuff. Plus, I have my science background. And then after maybe.
Which the two don't really match, science and God.
They totally match.
They match?
They totally match.
Really? How so?
Well, I'll tell you in a second.
Okay.
So anyway, my point was, at some point, I walked past these 2 things that I had in my office, big posters that I got from Roche Labs. On each poster, it was tiny writing that all these 2 giant posters outlined all of the chemical reactions that we knew of in the cell on these 2 giant. I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. This can't be an accident, right? And then I said, okay, I buy it. Okay, there's God. And then the question was, well, what's the best path?
Yeah.
So we did Buddhism. I went to a what was it called? A Universalist Christian Church.
Oh, you tried all these methods?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Well, I didn't tell
Wait,
you.
you went to I didn't know
Yeah, I
this.
said, okay, it's universalist. I like that,
Wow.
So-
And you tried Buddhism?
Yeah, and I was like,
Wow.
well, the Universalist Christian Church was really not Universalist.
Right.
Because it was run by Christian people. They didn't know anything about Judaism or
Right,
Islam.
right.
Right? So that was out. It wasn't really Universalist.
Wow.
But had some nice idea, but it wasn't really. And then, so eventually I kind of fell back into checking out Judaism.
Yeah.
But I have to say, it was a battle. It was a battle for 25 years.
Wow.
Every question. Like I finally found a rabbi, Rabbi Sindler,
yeah.
that I trusted.
Yeah, yeah. Like a mentor.
Well, he was so bright.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't let him say anything if I thought it was BS.
Oh,
I'm like,
it's a
I'm not going to
challenge,
just
yeah.
swallow this.
Yeah.
I'm just going
Yeah.
to swallow it. So I
Yeah.
challenged him
Yeah.
to this day. And he was smart enough that he could answer I didn't always agree with him, but he had answers, right? And then I had an experience, well, a few experiences, which I probably won't go into now. Maybe another time I'll go into them. That's a teaser. You get on the next call. But it's too long to
And
really go
just so
into.
you know, if you guys have questions, pop them in the chat, and we'll answer your questions as well.
Anyway, so this is a long path, but what I've come to conclude through physics, through quantum physics and Kabbalah, is that this world is not what we think it is.
No.
No, but it's. If I told you, you'll think I'm nuts, but this is what physics shows. The substrate, the fundamental thing in existence is not this physical material world that we live in. It's consciousness.
Yeah.
Consciousness. Your consciousness will always exist. It
Always. Even
always.
after your body.
Even after your body's gone, your consciousness exists.
Wow.
And the physicists agree with this. There's a book called My Big Toe, My Big Theory of Everything. It's a big 800, 700 pages, but he kind of goes through he's a physicist, and he's just looking for what is true. And he comes to the same conclusions that the Kabbalists learned, 2,000, 3,000 years ago. All the same conclusions. It's astounding. Two different methods, two different ways. So science and religion are actually linked through physics and through math.
Yeah.
Actually. And it's very complicated. I could explain it in more detail at another time. So this informs my view of reality,
Yeah.
and I work on it.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, this is the last thing I'll say, then you can ask questions.
Yeah. I've got
The
questions.
funny thing is, when I got into this,
Yeah.
I said, all right, okay, I believe God exists. Good, great, wonderful. Well, I learned that people who have religion and life-affirming community, they actually live 7 years longer.
Really?
They have less divorce, they have less drug use, less suicide, less depression. So I'm like, well, why wouldn't I sign up for that? I'm like, we're all brainwashed.
Yeah.
I mean, if the same thing happens to me, and the same thing happens to a guy in Africa, we're going to look at it differently based on our culture and our belief systems, right? So we're all brainwashed. I said, I might as well brainwash myself with the system that I think will give me the best results, meaning I'll be the happiest, best person I could
Makes
be in the
sense.
world. So that's why I got involved in Judaism.
Yeah.
I said, I'm just going to dive in. But it made no sense to me logically, but I just kept pushing. And the weirdest thing is, when you start getting into it, and you, in Judaism, or say meditative practice, whatever you do, you start really applying that on a daily basis, all of a sudden your mind, it becomes a vessel, opens up to be able to understand and receive experiences
Oh, yeah.
that you wouldn't
100%.
otherwise. Now, there's things that you experience, you say, well, it could be coincidence. But then there's things that I've experienced that I've been trying to disprove for 8 years now, and I can't. And I ask people, I say, how could I be wrong? No, you can't be.
No.
So the point is, your mind, once you practice, whether it's meditation or religious practice or whatever it is, your mind will develop just like you develop the skill of playing a musical instrument or something else. You develop a sense.
You rewire your brain.
Yeah, in a
correct?
very slow, subtle way, but that's what happens.
I feel like over the last 10 years, I've really rewired my brain to think like that. You know?
Well, that means you're in charge. You're
Yeah.
the master. You don't have to just take what comes to you from the society, because there's a lot of problems in what comes to us from society, a lot of assumptions that are not good for us.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
it.
I like that. The only thing I have control over is my attitude.
And
and my
your
belief
actions,
in-
some of your actions.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I try and be kind and loving to
Your
myself.
choices
and
that you
others,
make,
yeah.
but it's really your attitude and your choices,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Your behaviors.
So, what would you say for someone who doesn't
So it's
believe in
thought,
God?
speech, and action. Those are the things you have control over.
Yes.
Thought, speech, and action.
Yes. Yes. I believe that. And guys, if you have questions, just pop them in the chat and we'll answer questions. I see one actually. Okay, so Chiffon555 said, what if you're trying to decide between two amazing opportunities, but both of them really scare you too? How is God helping when you've been trying to make up your mind over a year's time? You go first. Chiffon, are you still here? Yes, you are. Great.
The question is, how is God helping?
So yeah, you have two really incredible opportunities. You've been trying for about a year now to make up your mind, and you just can't. So how is God helping when you've been trying?
Well, God is presenting you two great options. Like, what else do you want?
Yeah, they're two great options. That's true.
It probably doesn't really matter which one you pick. It's really what you're going to do with the opportunities.
Yeah.
Whichever one you pick,
Yeah.
flip a coin,
Yeah.
or make a list on a piece of paper of the good and the bad in each. Talk to people, whatever. But you're getting no clear direction, so you pick whatever you want to pick, and then you make the best of it.
So I agree with that. I would also add.
It doesn't mean it's going to be bump free, by the way. And if there is a bump, it doesn't mean you made the wrong choice either, by the way.
That's true. That's true. It's about the journey. So I would add that but there is fear that comes with both, 100%. But you can't be in fear and faith at the same time.
Right. What's to be afraid of if you're going to trust, right?
And a lot of times, fear is also excitement. I was really afraid to do this Instagram Live. It's my first time, but it was more excitement behind it. I also want to say, Chiffon, I don't know your first name, but I'm just calling that because it's your username. I believe that God is in the pause, right? But only for a certain amount of time. At some point, a decision needs to be made. And if you make that decision and you feel it wasn't the right decision, you can always make another decision.
Well, not making a decision is a decision.
It's also making a decision as well.
I'm not going to take either one. Will
That's
they
true.
be there forever? Maybe not.
That's true.
So, but the problem I hear here in Chiffon, what her situation is, that her fear, and you need to kind of. The bottom of that fear is the lack of trust in the higher power, in the universe, the intelligence. I would say one thing you could do, I don't know how old you are, but this is easier to do when you're older, is look back over your life and see how many ways you were actually protected. How many times where something bad, you just dodged a bullet, or something, you did something stupid, when maybe you were an adolescent and maybe you got through it, or maybe you didn't get through it. And so she's 62. So you could look back on your life and you could probably say, I was protected here, here, here. And when I wasn't protected, the cure came already before the problem. In other words, look back and reflect and look at where you were helped in ways you could not have ever predicted or even thought or asked for.
It's true. That's true.
And so there are universal forces, some people call them angels, whatever you want to call them, it doesn't really matter. There are universal forces that are behind you, protecting you, guiding you, sometimes teaching you, sometimes whacking you on the side of the head just to say, hey, get back in line,
Yeah. Chiffon said thank you.
You're welcome.
Hope that helps. We have another, Julia, I don't know if you have a question, but Julia says, I'm assisting my sister with the overseeing of my 89 and 90-year-old parents. Father has severe dementia. I suffer with 2 chronic illnesses, lupus and Sjogren's. Some days I have 0 energy. Today is one, it feels hopeless. So on that, I imagine, Julia, your question is like, where's God in all of this?
Yeah, so, well, there's so many layers to this, but I'll tell you one thing that I would say.
And she's raised Catholic. She has little faith in a higher power.
Okay, so that's kind of where you got to start. Here's something that I do. If you don't have to do it right now, but you close your eyes, relax your body, and just understand that the universe is giving you, it has a certain amount of energy allotted to you, right? And if you're blocking that energy through your mind, through your fears, through your anger, through your sadness, or all of these things, not saying you shouldn't have any of those feelings, but for the moment when you close your eyes, let all that go and just allow the energy that was meant for you in this lifetime. It was meant for you. Let it flow through you from head to toe, bathing every cell. And do this, maybe 5 minutes a day, every day, twice a day, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I would also encourage you to, I don't know if this is the case for you. It was the case for me when I started this journey. I was looking at all of this with the mind of a 13-year-old because that's when I basically dropped out of anything related to religion or God or anything like that. If that's the case for you, or you've been so many things have happened to you and you've jaded and hurt, I'm going to try to approach this with a open mind and start doing some reading. Now, when you've been through a lot, of hardship, it kind of compounds because you get more and more angry, more and more hopeless, frustrated, and depressed, and then your body breaks down, and then you get sicker. You don't get better from that attitude; you get sicker, and that's exactly the wrong attitude for healing.
Yeah.
So you have to control your attitude for healing, and that means reading hopeful stuff. Think of Norman Cousins. I don't know if you know Norman Cousins. He had severe inflammatory bowel disease. I think they wanted to remove his whole colon.
Oh my gosh.
He had the money, whatever. He went into a hotel room for a few months and just watched comedies. That's all he did is watch comedies, and he healed himself.
That reminds me of that guy who visualizing his spine being repaired. What's his name?
Yeah, I don't know his name.
I forgot, but he basically was going to have surgery.
But I'm not even
to be
saying
able
that
to-
she's going to have a miracle or
Right.
anything. Maybe it will, but what I'm saying is that everything you described, these are all autoimmune conditions, Sjogren's, etc. These are immune dysfunctions. Immune dysfunctions are closely tied to stress and adrenal function. So on a practical level, I'd say get someone to look carefully at your adrenal glands. You might have genetics, NR3C1, FKBP5 genes that actually make it hard for you to use corticosteroids, even if you're making normal amounts. You might have mold in your home. You might, have heavy metal toxicity, or maybe your diet is bad. Maybe, it's all kinds of things, physical things. But since we're talking about, the mental realm and the emotional and the psychological, spiritual realm, I would say you really, really need to work on investigating all of your questions and doubts depends what you are. Maybe you're more emotional, maybe you're logical. I'm more logical, so I investigate it from a logical point of view. If you're more emotional, read some things, true stories about people who have had good experience, because I will tell you this, and it is true. There's a lot out there in the universe, in the fields that you can't see and I can't see, that can heal.
Yeah.
That's no question.
It's true.
Right? That is a fact.
And Julia said 100% exacerbated by stress. I have a fantastic, renowned rheumatologist.
Yeah, well, a rheumatologist is great. I'm sure he's fabulous, but he's not going to talk to you about, probably not going to guide you on correcting this very problematic attitude. And I'm not criticizing you for arriving at this position at all, because you're dealing with tremendous levels of stress. But the stress is in the eye of the beholder. I'll tell you a quick story, and then I think we're
Can
going
I
to have to
say
stop.
something? Can I
Yeah.
say something real quick? I also think, Julia, and just for anyone who's listening, a lot of times God puts us in situations, or the universe, whatever you want to call it, because we're meant to help others and guide them through it. So Julia, God willing, when you get through this, I think you're meant to help other people struggling with this. So on a positive note, God never gives us more than we can handle.
Yeah, well, when you're drowning, it's
hard
hard
to
think
think
about
about that.
So-
Yeah,
But I'll
yeah.
tell you a story that illustrates. This is,
And and just drop some questions in the chat. You have
Well, we're
like 10
gonna-
more minutes?
what time is it?
6:12?
Yeah.
10 more minutes. So if Carrie, good to see you. We have some other joiners here. Mimi is here. Drop questions in the chat. Go on.
So this is a true story, actually. I think it was Hurricane Sandy. So this rabbi, a Chabad Jewish rabbi, and they tend to have a lot of kids. Maybe we had 10 kids. I don't know. And his house was destroyed. Thank God everybody was fine, but his house was decimated, and they didn't have a lot of money. Like, oh, okay, I'll just build another one. So he's in this community though where they had big houses and wealthy people. And there's one guy. He's just walking the streets, and he sees this one guy who's like houses everywhere, And the guy is crying. He said, well, what are you crying for? He said, my house is destroyed. It's destroyed. And the rabbi ends up helping him, because the rabbi knows that,
Wow.
God, the universe,
Wow.
this transcendental force that he trusts in and has seen help will come through for him. He believes that.
Yeah.
And so he's comforting the millionaire or the multimillionaire.
Yeah.
He's comforting him.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
So that's the power of attitude. Now you
Wow.
could say, let's say he ends up living in a shack with his 10 kids, right? Look at how he managed the stress.
Yeah.
I mean, he managed the stress. His body did not go through that trauma. You understand?
Yeah.
And he's not going to end up in a shack either, by the way. He won't.
Wow. So he's going to live a
But
miserable...
the guy, the multimillionaire, he just took a big hit in his immune system, his adrenals. Maybe if he had a autoimmune disease lurking in the background, that popped out now, or his cardiovascular disease, or maybe some angina or some whatever. You know what I mean? So it's about thought, speech, and action.
Thought, speech, and action.
Control your thoughts, your speech, and your
Yeah.
actions.
It's very true. And trust, even when, bad things happen, there's always a blessing behind them that's given from God or the universe or whatever. That's what I believe.
And then I'm gonna ask the hard question.
Yeah.
For Jews, it's hard, but it should be hard for anybody. How do you rationalize 6 million people dying in the Holocaust? Well, you say, oh, it's good, like something good happened. Well, no, their families were wiped out.
Yeah.
And that's something we can wrestle with on another call, because
Yeah.
there are some,
Yeah.
not that there's a way of justifying it, but it raises, if you deal with it, your awareness to another level of what existence is about.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Any other questions? Mimi, Carrie, I see you guys. Do you guys have any other questions before we hop off? Oh, I do. Or Julia said exactly how the world this moment with tears and exclamations. Agreed.
The world is being restructured now, Julia, and it's like, what do you think of a baby when it's going through the birth canal? What do you think it feels like? It ain't fun. Okay, believe me, your head is squishing through this canal. Oh my, what a headache! And then you come out and it's light and you can't even breathe. Right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't think, but we are actually in the middle of birth.
Yeah.
We are actually transforming, and it's hard. And I would say
Yeah.
to you, yeah, it's hard, but
Yeah.
we're going to come out
Yeah.
much, much better.
Yeah.
Much, much better.
Thank you, Karen. And two more questions. Chiffon said, is there any possibility of meeting with Dr. Hedaya in person? If you go to
You go to my website.
wholepsychiatry.com, you can fill out a form and get in touch with the office to meet with him. So it's whole, but spelled WHOLE, psychiatry.com. That's where you can find him. And get in touch and schedule a meeting with him. The other question I have before we wrap up, if you could give one message to the folks listening, if they don't believe in something greater than us right now, what would it be? Or one course of action?
One course of action. If you don't believe, then foster that belief, because your beliefs are
How?
they're just brainwashing. So
Like, what's one thing they could do just to, like, I have a friend who doesn't believe in God at all, but she just started talking to God because she feels like she
That's a
should.
good one.
And it's literally changing her. I hear her talk now. She doesn't believe in God. She feels so uncomfortable
well, the
with it.
God
She
thing
just-
is tough, right? Oh, the guy in the white
Right.
beard,
Yeah.
but forget that. That is like so stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? God is beyond our comprehension.
Yeah.
It's so.
So what's one thing they could do?
Everyone's different, but I love the idea. Talk
Just
to
talk
the
to
universe.
something.
You don't believe in God? Just talk to the
Yeah.
universe. I'll say this: look around you. Do you see the microwave radiation? Can you see the X-rays? Can you see the gamma rays? Come on, how come you can't see them?
Yeah.
They do exist, by the way. Go microwave your chicken, and you'll find out that they exist. Okay, but you can't see them, right? So there's things out there that you can't see. Okay, in your little human mind, all of us are the same. So if you say, "Oh, I don't believe," you can't say that with any kind of logic.
Yeah.
You may feel that, but really what you're feeling is anger, that you feel abandoned, or that you haven't been treated right by the universe or by God or whatever it is. Or you're coming to it with the mind of a 13-year-old, and you haven't looked at it as an adult.
Yeah.
So you gotta decide to work on this, and if you work on it, the rewards are immense.
Yeah.
They're immense.
They really are.
So that's it.
Okay.
All right.
And Julia, New Jersey, but I know Dr. Hedaya sees patients all over the country, but we're located in New Jersey. Thank you guys. Hope you found this helpful, and we'll probably be on again.
If
If you guys
we
like it,
we'll be on
you
again.
could send me a message, and be sure to follow Dr. Robert Hedaya on Instagram. And if you're not following me, you can. I think you probably do though. But
She's great, by the way.
Oh, thank
Her
you.
your morning
Daily dose morning,
morning things are very uplifting.
and they help reframe the mind. That's why I do it. So every morning I post something. So
All right.
great. Good to
Beautiful.
see you guys.
All right. Love to you all.
Love to you all. Bye.